So the game I chose to play and review is Diablo 4. I played it for a couple of days and it was awesome. Um, it is an action RPG and a continuation of the Diablo franchise. It's an open world design with lots of different levels and dungeons of all sorts. Basically, your goal is to level up your player to beat more and more powerful enemies and bosses. It was released on Blizzard Entertainment on PC console. It is got that classic hack and slash gameplay that has a cult fan base. It is very much rated M for mature, mostly for the gore, which was visually fantastic. Um, the standard edition was originally released for $70 in June of 2023, which I believe is the new standard AAA game price. Now it's 50, but I got it on sale for $30, which inspired me to play it. Okay, so Diablo 4 is a continuation of the storyline of all of the Diablo games, all connected. The lore runs deep, and I definitely don't have time to cover it all of it, but I want to hit the cool things. Essentially, what's going on there is an eternal conflict between heaven and hell. Neither side has been able to beat each other as angels and demons, as far as I understand. Always pretty much always get reborn after dying. It has been going on for so long, well before the start of even the first Diablo game. So Anarius, an angel, and Lilith, a demon, um, eventually get fed up with the never-ending war and decide to run off together and try to make change. They bring along another group of angels and demons who are similarly minded, and they steal the World Stone and use it to create their own world called Sanctuary, which is essentially Earth, and it is hidden from heaven and hell. The World Stone is essentially the a stone that can create and destroy worlds and reality, and it is essentially the birth of all creation. They use it to be the core of Sanctuary. They use it to hide it, like I previously mentioned, and then Anarius uses it to boost his own strength, I believe, and while they're there, the angels and demons end up having children called the Nephilim. These are essentially half angel, half demon beings that become the ancestors of humanity. Um, Initially, the combination of the two, they have the power to become more powerful than um, than the angels and demons, which is a threat to Anarius and also Lilith's potential solution to the war. Essentially, with all the angels and demons there, the threat of their power caused some to call for their extinction. Essentially, Anarius and Lilith have lots of couple drama. Um, they disagree on what they're planning their future, and so this part is a little weird, and I didn't quite understand Lilith's perspective as much, but she realizes she can't stop Anarius because he's powerful from the World Stone. So she tries to kill all the angels and demons there on Sanctuary, the rebel ones, hoping that Anarius will spare the Nephilim, since otherwise he'd be all alone. But that obviously does not happen. So Anarius doesn't kill Lilith, but he vanishes her to the void. Um, and then instead of killing all the Nephilim, he weakens them generation after generation to essentially become what we know as humans. And then after this, essentially humans learn magic, different spells, figure out ways to become powerful, and then the Diablo games are a series of different wars and conflicts where the residents of Hell will try and team up with the Nephilim to beat heaven, and there's always conflict between the sides, and it's a bunch of different wars, which leads. Okay, so everything that has happened in the cutscene up to this point is essentially four guys were exploring a dungeon looking for loot, or so they thought, but they stumbled upon like a Lilith can't find the word, but like summoning place. And one of the guys undisguises himself. You can see he's really creepy as he's a cult follower of Lilith, and he essentially sacrifices them in an evil demonic way and spawns Lilith, as you will see in a second. Okay, so where are we at? Essentially, he's convincing this guy to sacrifice himself to spawn Lilith. I'm probably going to cut to the part where Lilith spawns just so you can see it real quick because this has already taken so long. Okay, so the lead-in is pretty much everything that happened with that cutscene. You start as a character in Diablo as essentially a nobody who ends up traveling and exploring the world and learning about the past, which you as a Diablo 4 player, already know a little bit about, but your character ends up getting involved and ends up being, a big part of the storyline and inevitably fighting Lilith. Which takes us into the gameplay and characters. Okay, so the gameplay is awesome. It is the classic hack and slash action, like I've previously mentioned. Um, you've got five classes to choose from. You got Barbarian, you got Sorcerer, you got your Druid, Rogue, and Necromancer. A couple are new original classes um, than the previous Diablo games had. They all have their own unique abilities and armor and gear. I played the Barbarian and I had a blast. Um, the world is it's a very big world. It's set in so many cool places. The main regions are Fractured Peaks, which is where you start. You got Skosglen, which you need to be level 10 to be able to not die and successfully level up. Then next is Dry Steppes at level at least 15. They got Kehjistan, which is level 20, and then don't know how to say this one, Hawazar, level 35. Um, each are extremely thrilling and have unique quests and elements that add to the total lore and the roleplay experience. Okay, and then as far as the storyline goes, it is extremely engaging. There are just about everywhere you go, you can find out a small piece of information about a character or a past something that adds to the overall world, and it is always pretty easy to understand. It is something that you want to stay focused in because, um, I mean, you could play this game by not knowing um, the previous lore and you would still think it was awesome because you can kind of just assume things. But once you know all the lore from every game and the past, it just creates this whole world and reality that is so captivating, and something to that people obsess with. As far as cinematics go, I'm a little bit biased because I'm an absolute sucker for some good cinematics. Growing up, I always watched cool animations posted by like Blizzard for like Overwatch. I didn't even play Overwatch. They were just so cool. It's like little movies. But I have to say, like, when I opened this game, the opening cinematic that we've previously seen, I was sold. They really are something special. The graphics are amazing. You can tell that this they spent so much time perfecting. It's like the coolest movie you've ever seen, and it's absolute art. Okay, and as far as the in-game graphics goes, they also look fantastic. As you can see on screen, it's set in an evil, dark, gritty places that can make it scary. But then there's also some beautiful parts in the game that make the world feel so big. Like I mentioned, each region is so different. I'll place some or show you what each region looks like on screen. Um, there's weather as well, which makes the world feel alive and unpredictable and just like this endlessly huge world. I mean, it is endless and only so big, but it feels so big. The gore is out of this league. Every inch of every death is highlighted. It's epic. You know, the blood spatters, how different spells and weapons and abilities affect the monsters and how they die. It's either blowing up, freezing, or it's very entertaining to watch. The soundtrack was super great. I will play. There's a song for every single event. You know, it can there can be beautiful moments. There can be scary moments. You know, there's in super intense songs specifically for each boss. And okay, pros and cons. In my opinion, the best part of Diablo 4 and the Diablo series is the writing. It's an original take on Heaven and Hell that creates an an original story that's super captivating, but has the familiar concepts of things like angels and demons, which is fantastic. You know, obviously the graphics were beautiful, and there's so much to become obsessed with. And then as far as cons go, I know this sounds crazy, but I think the worst part was the leveling system. Don't get me wrong, it was fantastic and I had a great time. Just me personally, I prefer a game that's a little bit more skill based. You know, there is definitely a learning curve, but it's just about how powerful you can make your character, which lots of people love and is great. And it's just a different type of gameplay. It's just not my personal favorite, but I still had a blast. And definitely all the cool gear and abilities make up for it. It's excellent. All right, rating in conclusion. Okay, rating and conclusion. In conclusion, if you couldn't tell based off how much I've been preaching how awesome this game is, it is a 5 out of 5. Woo! You can tell that so much time and effort goes into this craft, and you can tell that this is people's life work and legacy. You know, they didn't cut corners in any area. It's definitely not underappreciated though. You know, lots of people love this game, which takes us on to our next section, societal effects. On that same not underappreciated note, lots of fans love this game. I know lots of people personally that are even obsessed. Um, my dad, for example, the we played Diablo 3 together, and that was very bonding for us. And and I've I I've just there's so much more to the game after the main campaign. You can level up essentially forever, which is really cool. So I'm gonna play with him, and that'll be great. And yeah, so many communities across all platforms. This game brings them closer together, and um, I think Lilith as a character can spark conversations about roles of women in video games. It was definitely refreshing to see a feminine woman character who isn't over sexualized. She's definitely a very powerful leader type, which is excellent to see. Um, she is the technically the antagonist, and you can tell that her motives are extremely complex. She's not particularly evil, but her motives hold weight, and you can feel and understand her emotions. There's also an option to play each character as a feminine or masculine versions, displaying both types in different roles and settings, which can add some relatability for different players and potentially breaking stereotypes. And that's my video. It was essentially a whole video and audio of me just preaching this game. Go play it.